survey from the U.S. Department of Education this year studying student behavioral problems found an increase in overall rowdiness, threats, and physical violence aimed at educators. These kind of issues are creating a bigger problem with teacher shortages. One district in Ohio is facing mass resignations ahead of the new year. A spokesperson for the teachers union there says nearly a third of its members have quit due to not feeling safe or valued at their school.
If you think about it, with recent current events, can you blame us for being a little apprehensive of starting another year of school? So with that being said, how is your mindset with the return of school? The last few years have been very tough for us. So for this particular episode, I want to have Mr. Owen Griffith to join us on the program and kind of shift our perspective from all the stuff maybe we're focused on with angry parents, administrators, pressures, and all that, and maybe focus on something else. Some of the good things that we can expect this year and some things we should actually be grateful for.
And joining us is Mr. Owen Griffith, who's a teacher, a blog writer, and now published book author titled Gratitude, A Way of Teaching. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. Thanks for inviting me.
How would you, Owen Griffith, define gratitude?
Gratitude, it's much more than a pleasant emotion. I think that's where a lot of people get stuck. They think gratitude is just the way I feel. It's going to come and go. Gratitude is really a way of looking at the world. It's a way of interacting with people, and it's finding the good in ourselves and others. And as teachers, finding the good in our classroom, and our students, and our colleagues, and the parents. It's something that has really helped me in my life, and it's truly helped me as a teacher.
So what's the difference between gratitude and positive thinking?
Positive thinking is just trying to be upbeat, put a smile on. And unfortunately, sometimes when people do the positive thinking, I've noticed it doesn't come off as authentic. And so they don't do it so often, or they kind of burn out on it quickly. The great thing about gratitude is I've learned there are these activities you can do, and you can practice these, and you can find out what works for you, what works for your students, your family. And as you practice these gratitude activities, whether it's a gratitude list or writing a gratitude letter or doing gratitude art or a gratitude Facebook page, as you do this, it really changes the way you think. It changes the way you act, and it can change your classroom or your family.
Oh, and you seem so pumped up about gratitude and its impact on your life. Why do you suppose that it's hard to embrace gratitude for some?
I have a whole chapter in the book on the gratitude resistors. I know some of the people I work with, and people just say, it just sounds too good. And I think as educators, we've all heard too many magic bullets, things people propose that are going to just be a cure-all. And so I think we're a little leery of things like that. So it almost seems too good to be true. People think, oh, this can't be, as good as they say it is. And, the research has really caught up to these last 10 years when I've been using gratitude in the classroom. It's nice that some of the top professors around the country have been studying gratitude, and now we have the empirical evidence that shows that it does help students with their academic achievement, academic goals, less discipline problems, and just be more connected to the school and to life.
What is some of that research that you found gives you the hard evidence that, an attitude of gratitude really makes a difference not only in your life, but also teachers in the classroom?
Dr. Froh and Dr. Bono wrote a book called Making Kids Grateful, and I love that book. They actually went into some schools, and they did where they had one group of students who kept a gratitude journal, who wrote things that they were grateful for. And they made them delve a little deeper. Instead of just saying, I'm grateful for having a family, they would say, I'm grateful for having a family because they bring me to school, because they love me, because they supply me with stuff. So they have one group doing the gratitude journal and going a little deeper. Then they had the control group who didn't do anything. And then they had a group that actually wrote down complaints, things that they were feeling bad about or feeling negatively about. When they did the pre-test and the post-test, they found that those students who did the gratitude journal, up 10 to 15% better academically achieving. Discipline problems went down. Those students reported that they felt more connected to their classmates. It was a real social thing. Classroom culture had changed. The control group, as you can imagine, stayed about the same. And then the complaint group, their problems went up. And, I think sometimes in life we can see that with some of our colleagues. The people who try to impact things positively have a better rapport, and those people who are just the complainers are the ones who just attract the negative.
Do you see that in your own life?
I do. I see that with some of my students and some of my colleagues. And the nice thing is that a lot of them, when they get to know me, those students at the beginning of the year, as they see gratitude really working, they really turn around and they see that it does work. And it's more than just something that, sounds good or just works for me. It's something that can apply to everyone. In fact, back to that research, they found that the people who have the hardest time with gratitude at the beginning are the ones who make the most progress with it, which is good news for those of us who still might struggle with it, who might be resistant to it.
If there's so many benefits to being grateful, then why isn't our society embracing it more? Why do we see all this bad news and dirty politics and stuff like that?
Well, I have another chapter about the complaining culture, and I think bad news still sells. People still want to, there's something about looking at that, and then they can compare themselves and say, oh, my life's not so bad. And people don't even realize a lot of times, like I'll walk into the teacher's lounge and they'll almost be having a contest. They'll be talking about one student, how bad, and the other person will feed off that and say, well, you think that student's bad? Look at this. So I think people have established some negative habits, and it just seems like too much work to start something new, start gratitude. A lot of people never give it a chance, or if they do, they don't stick with it long enough.
Is part of it just because it requires more work?
I think that's true. And, I went to this gratitude conference at the Greater Good Science Center up at UC Berkeley. And the whole emphasis there was, how can we make this applicable in the classroom and not be an extra activity? Because no teacher has another half an hour a week to devote to this. So some of the real encouraging things they were figuring out with the curriculum is they were saying, how can we make writing gratitude letters part of an English lesson? I see a lot of the way it's being applied now done in a way that isn't going to be just another task for educators, or it's not going to be something even if parents want to try it. A lot of parents are reading this book who aren't teachers and saying that they're enjoying some of the activities that just kind of go with the family. It's not something else that you have to do, because nobody has extra time these days, do we?
Indeed. I think society just sees it as a Thanksgiving thing. It's
Right.
nice to do during Thanksgiving, but let's face real life for the rest of the year. With that being said, Owen, are you this gratitude master? Is showing gratitude something that's always been easy for you and just the way you grew up? Were you that child who was always the glass is half full and being so grateful growing up?
No, actually, I had a wonderful family and they're very supportive, but, I wasn't always a grateful person. In fact, looking back, I can see I was kind of cynical. About 15 years ago, I was working this kind of long job in customer service. And by the end of the day, I wouldn't have much energy. And there was a lady I worked with and she just seemed to always be happy. So I figured she didn't have any problems in life. And then one day we were talking, she had all these problems, more problems than I did. So I asked her, what is it that you do? She said, I do this gratitude list every day, no matter what. I write down 5 things I'm grateful for. And she challenged me. She said, try it for 2 weeks and see if you feel a little better. And sure enough, it gave me more energy. I started focusing on the good things in life and seeing that. So when I became a teacher, I started that in the classroom and it kind of became contagious. And I still struggle with it though some days. After 15 years, 10 years using it in the classroom, writing a book, I still feel overwhelmed some days. But what I find is gratitude is still a choice. And on those hard days, if I can do a gratitude list or if I can look to someone to tell them how grateful I am for them, it still makes me feel a little better.
Let's talk about this hard days, because it's very easy to be grateful and the skies are clear in life and everything's going great. Can there be a true gratitude mindset when one is suffering and going through severe life problems?
I really find that gratitude works for me when those things that really challenge me in life, I can be grateful for. That parent I'm not seeing eye to eye with. If I can be grateful for them, because maybe I can learn something from them about the student. That administrator that's pushing me that, I just can't seem to connect with and seems like they're giving me too much work. What can I learn from this situation? And especially the students, those students that challenge me, what am I supposed to learn from them? And in the morning when I'm stuck in traffic, I try to just think about my whole class. And think about one thing I'm grateful for about each student.
Tell me more about the gratitude journals that worked in your classroom.
Well, I start the gratitude journal in the first week of school. So it's coming up now. I'm looking forward to introducing that to a new group of students. And they keep a new composition book. And I tell them, we're going to write down 5 things we're grateful for each day. After you get the students going, it only takes about 5 minutes. A good bell ringer activity as kids are starting to unpack and get their things out. I start and I write things I'm grateful for on the board, and I tell them that they can share mine. The real challenge is to think of new things every day, because students will repeat the same ones. So what are some new things to be grateful for every day? And then we'll do challenges like, if you're really grateful, gratitude should be an action. And so I'll tell the students, if you're grateful for your parents, do something for them this weekend. Don't get found out.
And what did you see in your classroom as a result?
I saw the students really looking for the positive things in life. Instead of being disappointed they don't have the latest iPhone, they were grateful that they had a family that loved them, that they had a school they were going to, that they had friends. And it seemed like some of the students who didn't have a lot of friends were able to reach that a little more. We made gratitude partners where they write each other letters, they write each other notes, gratitude spies where they try to see someone who's doing something good and they let them know. So over the years, along with the gratitude journal, I've done these other activities to try to elevate the class culture and connect those students more.
One last bit of advice. I know a lot of teachers, they enjoy their summer break, and to see all these back to school signs and think of going back. They maybe love their job, but maybe they're fighting the negativity of, oh man, another year. Any advice for those teachers?
Yeah, I've been going through that too a little bit. So
too.
I've been thinking about, what do I really enjoy about school? There's a chance, an opportunity here to connect with some new students in a new way and take them on a path. There's colleagues that I haven't seen over the summer, and there's this adventure of the school year. And if I can look at it as an adventure, then it's not going to be an ordeal.
I want to thank my guest, Owen Griffith, for his gratitude mindset to help us improve our classroom culture. I definitely encourage you to pick up his book, Gratitude, A Way of Teaching. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you on the next program. Have a great rest of the week.